A lot of the time with a video, you can do so much planning, so much like all this planning. You can be like, this is the best video ever. I'm going to put it out. It's going to get millions of views like that last one did. I'm going to do another I paid video and it'll get millions of views. And it's 10 times better, right? You know it's better.
Yes.
You put it out and it flops,
God.
right? And you're just like, what the hell happened? And there's no answers.
Yeah.
And people pretend to have answers.
Yes.
They actually pretend. I have gone to the point now of where, like, I don't think anyone knows what they're doing.
You're listening to The Angry Designer, where we cut through the industry bull to help frustrated graphic designers survive and thrive.
What's up, Angry Designers? Today we have yet another incredible treat. So for the past 10 years, more than 10 years, there has been this awesome fellow over on the other side of the pond who has been like treating the world with his antics, with his jokes, but then with so much valuable information. And this has been on YouTube. Okay, if I had to say, he could very well be the first, YouTube creator, graphic designer who's just done so well for himself, done so well for our community, and he's so damn young. So this is a huge treat for me because I have been following him for years, and I would like to present Mr. Will Paterson.
Hey, how's it going?
How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, thank you. That's a very nice introduction. That's probably one of the best.
Dude.
It's great.
Well, honestly, I mean, again, not to inflate your head or anything like that, but I mean, it's safe to say that you were one of the first people in this space to get on YouTube. And I mean, of course, like I've followed you and I've read and this and that. And I know sometimes, whether it was, what is it, by chance or intentional, but I mean, you've really made a difference into this space. I mean,
Thank you.
I can just imagine like what you've taught people, what they've learned from you, what they keep coming back for. And it's just like you're constantly evolving. So this is a huge treat for us.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, I think the first person that I saw was Howard Pinsky. And he works with Adobe now. He's one of the chief evangelists, I believe.
Really?
He's a legend. Yeah. He had his own channel. I think he had his own channel anyway. He was making videos, tutorials on Photoshop. And yeah, and I
because that was one of your issues. You couldn't find enough YouTube talent to teach you how to do what you were looking to do.
Yeah, literally. So the story is I was learning design by myself. I didn't go to completely self-taught, but I don't really say that now because it's the famous Paul Rand quote, isn't it? Like every designer is self-taught. But I genuinely had no education and I didn't pass any of my exams. We have GCSEs in the UK. Yes. They sort of decide the rest of your life, or they try to make it so. It's a broken system, in my opinion. Didn't have any of those, so did design work after I went and studied in like a technology college, not a university, but like a tech college. And whilst I was learning, I couldn't find out how to do, let's say, the blend if tool. I didn't know how that worked in Photoshop, so I'd have to like research it. And I thought, well, I hate researching things like this, and I'm just going to make a video and show people how it works. And it went from there, and people enjoyed them, and it sort of evolved into vlogs, evolved into where it goes now.
Geez, it's funny because it's. I never realized how far back your material. There was something as far back as 11 years ago. I think there was one that said 11 years. You're a totally different guy.
It's weird. Yeah, it's a completely weird thing. I've had to sort of reinvent what we do as we go.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, we'll definitely be talking about that. But since we're on the topic of schooling, do you think that's like affected you in any way, or? I mean, I'm in the same boat. I went to graphic design, so I went to school for graphic design. But unfortunately, whether it was personality conflict or just really bad profs, I bounced after the first year, and I decided to do it on my own just because the system was holding me back versus shooting me forward. So I have strong opinions about that. But did it hold you back?
Yes. So school in the UK, if you imagine, so the school system that we have is not modern. It's probably the only institution that hasn't changed since the Industrial Revolution. And obviously schooling is a bit different in America and Canada and other places in the world. But the UK, where school became mandatory, was during this Industrial Revolution. And it was designed to train you to be a factory worker. It was designed to train you genuinely. It still happens now. It's not like they line you up or they make you wear the same uniform, but they do. They make you like wear the same uniform, you eat the same food, you talk the same way, you have no sense of individuality, and you must learn based on someone lecturing you. As long as you can repeat after me, but you don't have to understand it.
Yes.
You can just repeat back. That's how you know you're educated. Very odd. So, yeah, I failed at school.
I feel for you, because that's, I was that student that would try to push the boundaries. I would question the teachers.
Yeah.
I mean, we're flipping designers. That's what we're supposed to do, is ask the questions. I was told, you ask too many questions. You need to trust in your in like the, I don't want to say superiors, but in their experience. And it's just like, no matter what, it's just, the final word was they pulled me aside and told me, you will never make it in this space with your attitude. And I was like, that's the worst thing to tell somebody like me, right? Because, I walked out that day. I knew, as clear as day, I was going to be a graphic designer and own my own studio. And it just kind of like snowballed from there. And that fire carried me on to 25 years. So it's insane what people believe design should be versus what it is. It's insane. And they're teaching that.
Well, exactly. I mean, when I'm talking about school, I never studied design at school. This is when I was like, I'm talking about when I was all the way from primary school to secondary school, so up until 16 years old sort of thing. And essentially, I didn't know what I was going to do up until college, where I believe that's right. God told me to do it. And I did it.
That's amazing. So it's amazing that it was a calling like that. I have similar stories that we can share, no doubt, but ta-da!
Hey, what's going on?
I'm so sorry.
You're fine, don't worry, dude.
Sorry.
Somebody decided to take it easy.
Good to see you, dude.
It's nice to see you, man.
You made it through the polar vortex, did you?
I did, yes. Is it cold in England?
Yeah, it's quite cold. I mean, it was -4 the other day. I don't know what it is now. It's probably a bit warmer, but yeah.
Wow.
Quite cold.
-4, right?
-4.
That sounds like that's t-shirt and shorts weather compared to what we have right now.
Yeah, you got it much worse than what we've got, but we love to complain. I was just saying this. We moan. We're professionals. Like you'll not see a British guy who doesn't moan and be good at it.
But the blessing of being self-taught, of course, is, you're not restricted by rules. And what I mean by that is, oftentimes people will compare designs, verbatim to principles, which I mean, again, the whole premise of everything we do is trying to break those rules, pushing the boundaries, see what works. So, it can be just as inhibiting as it is, beneficial, in my opinion. Yeah,
it's a framework, isn't it? So we teach these frameworks and how principles, which are principles, and they do work. The problem is with principles is that they work too well. It's not that they don't work. And people get comfortable with that. But you won't see innovation when someone sticks to the same principle. I don't necessarily think principles are bad, because whenever I'm struggling, I'll just stick to the principle, what it is. But then when you've got to decide when the time is to say no to the principle and go with your experience and intuition, and that's what people pay you for, is your taste, your experience, your attitude and intuition, and whether you say it's correct. They don't really pay you for your skill set. They pay you for what you think. Yeah,
it's just as much of they're buying the person as they are of what you're able to output.
I would say more of the person. Yeah, because I was just saying this beforehand. They do. It's like a quote that I've started to love recently, which is, you don't have to be the best, just be their favorite.
Yes.
Or be the one there in front of them at the time. They'll listen to you, and as long as you're good at what you do, like there's like the qualifying part there, then they can trust your intuition and abilities, even if you go off track.
So before you've learned this, because this is incredibly wise, and I agree with you thoroughly, have you taken work from customers then where you probably took it for the wrong reasons, in the sense of you took it because maybe the opportunity was cool, maybe the payload was good, but the personality fit may not have been what you wanted, which affected the relationship?
Yeah, so we've got like, it was last year we had a couple of projects that were tough. I won't tell who it was or what it was, but we sort of clashed because either I didn't communicate it correctly, my process, which, like, without sounding like a dick, I don't think it was me, but I have to assume that. So I think the way that the client thought I was going to do the process was a pick and mix. Like, he would be able to pick and mix what I do.
Yeah.
And that riles me up, and it doesn't work very well. So we've had that before. We've had ones where, you know, I tell them the process. I say it's not a pick and mix situation. I don't sort of lay it down.
Throw it in there. Yep.
Yeah. I just throw it in, educate them a little bit without it looking like I am educating them. And then they'll have like an extra 6 people on a board meeting, and they'll tell me to put ears on a logo type.
And in front of everybody.
Yeah,
It's
and
their timing is
I have to
just
sit there and take
perfect,
it. Yeah. But luckily, it did not end that way. They both one of the projects ended badly in a way. One of them ended very well. So.
There's no doubt that decision by committee doesn't work, but that's a whole nother podcast altogether. So
that's right. Yeah.
So then, going down this road, then, did you ever feel intimidated because you were learning a lot of your stuff on the go over the years, and you know, like, you have to question without, you know, you come from a very small town, and you know, without having all these experienced designers or all these people trying to guide you and tell you what you're doing right is wrong, you know, how much does that play into your work, your mind, your whole, you know, persona?
Yeah, it's imposter syndrome. I don't care what anyone says, is real. It is an actual problem that a lot of people with achievements have, which undermines their confidence. I don't think it's a bad thing to have imposter syndrome. I think it's just a symptom of doing well in certain ways and trying to be humble about it in a way. Coming from a small town, coming from a non-educated side, does have its challenges. However, the way that people have found my work, and a big misconception, is that it's just through YouTube. They just see me talking about it and they think that I can just do it. And that's not the way it works. They see my portfolio. Each client there's a simple funnel system to get to my portfolio, and it starts with social media. And they see what I can do. The proof's in the pudding. I have no qualifications in design. I don't do design awards. I don't take them. We have this saying called free from design awards, not because we're afraid that we won't get them, but because normally you have to pay for them.
Yep.
And it doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense to have design awards, because then you're sort of constricted, aren't you, into what you can design. It's like pop music. If you create music and you want to get into the top 10, you're restricted to, you know, a 4-chord thing with a capo at the 12th fret or whatever. Yeah. For me personally, it's been a problem just from imposter syndrome, because we've had clients before who I've gone, this is like way too much, it's too fast, too soon. I don't think I have the ability to do it. And I've had to have people like my team and my wife explain that, no, you can do it. And then we do it and it's absolutely fine.
Yes.
But then I'm forever hating the end result. But
well,
it's never where I want it to be. Yeah.
But is that because of you? Because you're striving for perfection, or?
Well, yeah. Let me rephrase. It's not like I hate it. It's I'm never satisfied with it. I'm content, but I'm not satisfied.
That's the flight of the designer, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think I'm done with the project before I'm even finished the damn thing. So unfortunately. But going back to imposter syndrome, I mean, I agree with you thoroughly, and it's refreshing to hear somebody admit that it's a real thing. People seem to think it's a weakness.
No.
I mean, I tend to think it's more of a strength to be able to admit to it, because the key word you mentioned there was humility. It sometimes feels what we're doing, we're actually getting paid for what we're doing is mind-blowing, right? I mean, we professionally draw more or less. Right? Yeah. With whether it be crayons or with, it is amazing. And so
we are paid to color in. It's wild.
Yes.
We can stay within the lines sometimes.
Right. Yeah, what sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's like it's just it's a mind-blowing experience. So I'm right there with you. Sometimes I feel like this is too good. Somebody one day is gonna pull the sheet open, it's gonna be a Wizard of Oz experience and be like, who's the guy behind the curtain? It's like, it's still me.
Exactly. This is the thing. I mean, the opposite of imposter syndrome is something called Dunning-Kruger syndrome.
Yep.
Which is the false, the opposite.
Opposite.
You think you're better
Than what you
really the crazy thing is I think a lot of people now have that.
Yes.
Because we've been taught to have that.
Agreed.
I don't know. I won't point out anyone. I don't think people mean to have it, and I don't think they're bad for having it. I think it's just the opposite.
Yes.
I think imposter syndrome actually helps. It does hurt. It is an uncomfortable state to be in with imposter syndrome. I won't flare it up to be this big thing. Everyone on the planet experiences it at some point. Doesn't matter what you've achieved. Everyone's achieved at least one thing in their life. But Dunning-Kruger, you can spot it from a mile away. It's like you can smell it before you can see it. And you can do it, especially with design work, because you can really see what their output is.
Yeah.
It's like one of those Christian values, isn't it, of the fruit that's been born from the person. Like you look at the fruit, which is the work, and you're like, damn, that sucks.
Yeah.
Or you're like, oh, that attitude there is, and he's just, and I've never wanted to have Dunning-Kruger syndrome.
Of course.
I don't intend to have imposter syndrome. It's not something that I want, but I have to look at the positives from it from a first principle basis of like, is there a positive to have with this? Yes. It keeps you on your toes.
Yes.
100%. You are never relaxed to do mediocre work.
Yes.
You can't do it.
Yeah.
So
It's funny. It seems as though to me, imposter syndrome and humility go hand in hand, right? And being humble is in my opinion, I mean, it's an important trait for any designer because it's in our nature to think of the other person. It's our nature to think of the end user. We're trying to solve problems for these people. But a lot of people view that humility as imposter syndrome. And I think it's completely the opposite. I think if you can confidently be humble in this space, I think it makes you a stronger, better designer, versus going through, thinking that you are so much better than you absolutely are.
You're 100% correct. That's just made me think. I'm reading this book at the moment. It recently came out, and I can't remember the word of it, but I found it because of the book cover. I'm one of those guys who will buy a book for the cover.
Based on the look. I hear you.
Yeah. It's like something to do with art. It's got just a round circle on the book cover, and it's a book about art and creativity. It talks about how, as a creative person, we're essentially like a radio where we tune in. And we have, as creative people, a large bandwidth of empathy.
Yes.
We can really feel people's emotions. We can put ourselves into other people's shoes. Maybe that's been trained into some folk. Maybe it just comes naturally or more naturally to others. But as creative people, we take cues from things that people don't normally do who are trained. It's like creativity is a muscle, right? Where we increase that bandwidth.
Yep.
And we can really take in inspiration and look at how things function in design. It's the same with art. You get these crazy artists like Picasso and stuff. You imagine what he was like surrounded by. Like how was he tuned into the world? It's crazy. And then you get people who aren't.
Yes.
Those people who aren't create for aesthetic. They create only for aesthetic in design, should I say?
Correct.
So it's always form over function.
Yes.
But I think like true designers, in a sense, when we look at creativity, you are connected in different ways without going too deep in the philosophical ways. I think we allow a lot more in to influence our minds from the right places. We feel people's empathy, or we empathize with people so we can put ourselves in their shoes, and that's what allows us to translate something that is useful to them, which is what graphic design is, useful.
Absolutely. Have you ever encountered more, I don't know, philosophical designers, more, nose up designers who frown upon, your attitudes being, or just being a YouTube celebrity?
Yeah, I have. I'll be glad to say that a lot of the people who are influential in the design community are nice.
Yes.
Nice people. Nothing wrong with them. I love them. There are a few. Actually, should I say just one or two that spring to mind that have like looked down on me. But the ironic thing is they do the same thing. Very odd. There's one guy, for instance, he streams on Twitch. And he I don't know, he had a real problem with one of my videos and someone else's video actually, and I was quite taken aback by it. It was to do with AI in design. Right. And obviously, us being a design channel, if something's going to affect it, I'm going to give my thoughts and opinions. And it just reminded me of like the cancel culture of today within design, where, you know, some live streamer with a channel wanted to have some beef with me. I don't know why. He would have gotten more out of me if we just had like a little debate. But yeah, he made this like weird video trying to discredit what I was saying about AI, you know, which my whole point of it was maybe we won't have to draw in the future. As a graphic designer, a very odd thing to say, and people can't wrap their heads around it. And I still do genuinely believe that AI can be good for design, but it will not replace. It will be like computers. I mean, people would argue 50 years ago that they have been replaced. Graphic designers 50 years ago have 100% been replaced by computers, because now we have Illustrator and Photoshop and all these crazy programs. Before that, you had to like draw it and do all this crazy, magnificent things to get a font, like just simply to get like a typeface or a logo. They have been replaced. And no one cares. And I'm wondering why they care so much now.
Yeah,
like about
so
replacement, you know. So this is like my thing. I've had people before I go into a tangent. I've had people who've looked down the nose. Yeah. Okay. Well, I've had people look down the nose.
Yeah, right. It is the angry. We're kind of used to it.
Oh, good. Well, I don't think I'm too angry about it. But I've had people look down the nose. Look down the nose at. I think. I hate this thing where people say those who can't do teach.
I know.
I hate that.
What is
because
that?
That's what I've been tarred with in like a few people. It's really odd because if they knew and I'm not trying to be like a dick here, but if they knew the clients that we were working with, I don't think they would say that. But we don't. We do a lot more client work than we do videos.
Yes.
Like it's videos are a struggle because we have to. I have no time for that sort of thing when it comes to like trying to teach people. And I think you get a lot of jelly bellies out there in the design field because they may, and it's a shame because they may feel like they're not, they might have great work, but they don't have anyone wanting the work from them. And they might be the best graphic designer you've ever seen and met, yet they've not had a single client yet. And it's just... They get jelly belly about it and they write mean comments because they can, and you get live streamers who will dissect your videos. There's one live streamer that I went on and they were watching my video.
Yes.
And like the whole chat, and I remember saying afterwards, I was reading the chat after he was watching it, said I didn't realize how many people hated me. Like I've done nothing.
Wow.
I said I've tried to help people.
Yes.
But I don't understand. So yeah, it's wild.
No,
like
it is.
The social media landscape now is anxiety inducing. Yeah.
You must have a pretty thick skin
to
do this. Oh no,
no.
Oh wow.
No, I don't. I don't think it bothers me. Oh, yeah, wow. People bother me. I try not to let it. Is a healthy amount. I think thick skinning things is like. Is anyone truly thick-skinned? No. I don't know. Or do people just act like they are? I think I just act like I am because there's no other option. I'm not going to... If they have their opinion, that's perfect. But on the other end of it, if they're giving me more attention, then who's winning? It's like, okay. I mean, not negative attention because I've done nothing wrong.
Yes.
But...
It is incredible to think because you have affected and influenced close to 1 million people follow you, dude. Like follow you. They're subscribed. This doesn't even include the people who come in, watch you for a couple months or hear that come back in a year later that maybe not subscribe, but you're in their feed. So you are positively influencing people's lives, helping them better at tasks. Otherwise, they don't watch your videos. Yeah. And,
hope so, anyway.
and I know, right? And it's shocking that people have the audacity to troll or to, with their 3 followers, maybe, if they have any followers, and feel that they have this right. Because what you're doing is you're putting out positive content, positive energy, and you are genuinely helping our community. So it is unfortunate. And, we've had episodes where we rant about, the stereotypical pretentious designer and situations like this where they are just,
They think that's me. People genuinely think that I'm like a bit. It's because of the accent, though. I can guarantee it. Because of the accent.
Well, you might be onto something there.
Well, they think that, I think the accent is kind of like, I can talk to an American and they can kind of trust me.
Yes.
I could just tell them we didn't land on the moon, and there'll be someone out there that would believe me, and they most likely be from America. I'm not saying anything bad about the Americans, by the way, because truly love them and they are my client base.
Yes.
But I think the thing is with the accent, it does help a lot of the time with communicating, but it's a double-edged sword because when I'm critiquing people's work, can you imagine this guy who's British, who's slightly neurodivergent, telling them about their work? They might get a bit hurt by what I say, and it might come across as pretentious sometimes because I'm quite particular in how I do things.
So okay, aside from people trolling, which there's no doubt that has an effect. Being an influencer as you are on YouTube, role model, how do you stay current? Constantly trying to find what's next, what's coming up, because I'm assuming after a while the expectations of what Will's going to be posting next. Is it this constant battle within yourself, or is this just from the outside looking in?
No, I think people stay current with me. That's not to sound like a dick.
No,
I think the way that people, the only way, if I was a news outlet,
yes,
then that's what I'd be doing. If I wanted to be like a hyper successful YouTuber, you could probably do it that way. The way that I sort of have come to terms with YouTube is that if people want to follow me for what I do, they can.
Yep.
If they want to leave, they can. We're doing a crazy mini documentary soon on the channel about dark patterns and manipulative design practices that people employ to trick people.
Yep.
And that will take people by left field. But I've not done anything there to try and stay current. I just talk about what I find. There's a couple of things. Is it interesting? Does it help? And is it useful?
Yes.
If it's interesting, it's for me.
Yep.
If it's useful, it's for you. And if I enjoy doing it, then it's all for me and the sponsor of the channel or the video.
That's great. That's actually a really good way of going about it. What one of my favorite episodes of all times, and at first I was like, what is this guy doing? And then sure enough, it was just fantastic. But it was your I paid 5 designers on Fiverr. I hired, and just to kind of and it was at first everybody hates on Fiverr, and I get it. I understand why. Fear. But I mean where do ideas like this come from? And did you not do it a second time and a third time too?
Yeah, it's just a big troll to the design community, isn't it? It's me trolling back. As in, I'm paying those. So the idea came from Peter McKinnon.
Yeah.
I think.
Toronto boy.
So he did it, and then Fiverr reached out because they sponsored it. And I was on trending on the graphic design. I was on the top of the graphic design subreddit, when it came out, with so many people arguing in the comments, hating it because they thought I was destroying the design industry by hiring these folk to take part in this video and advertising for Fiverr.
Yeah.
My clients would never go to Fiverr.
Yeah.
And
of course.
If you're worried about it, then your work's terrible or you don't know what you're doing. That's the sort of end of the conversation for the Fiverr thing, in my opinion. Or they might steal your work. That's another one. Fiverr, they can steal work. So you've got to be careful.
Oh.
But that's the same with any platform.
Fair.
Any platform like that can do that. It was a fun video. I just thought it would be fun to do. We didn't realize it would blow up the way it did.
Yeah.
And we just did it. It was people, I don't know why, people just love it.
Yeah, no, it was, well, and again, because I think everybody has this love-hate thing with Fiverr. Now, again, I think Fiverr might be one of those, and we'll talk about AI in the future in a little bit, but I think Fiverr might be one of those platforms that are going to be largely affected by AI, just based on the fact, I mean, for $5, you can't expect too much, design creativity, thought, and, which is perfect for, like we said, being replaced in the future. But,
Yeah.
I mean, I had a great laugh over that one. And again, I'm pretty active on Reddit. So it's just the comments on Reddit. Again, like you said, good and bad. Exactly like you said. People are just, they were appalled, but they watched the whole thing. So
Everyone has to have an opinion.
Yes. It's so true.
It's hilarious. No one's okay. No one feels comfortable anymore just being like, do you know what?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, no one's come, and I've only recently realized this of myself, that I was not comfortable with not having an opinion.
Yes.
It was either yes or no. Mm-hmm. So now I'm trying to be okay in the middle. Not being okay with either of them, just being completely neutral, being like, I don't know. Let me do some research.
Fair. So has YouTube, or being on YouTube so much, being such a public figure in this, does this make you second guess posting certain pieces of content for others for, in case it potentially inhibits landing a customer? Or, think of it on this side. We rant about customers a lot, right? And we also praise customers a lot. Now, the ones that we rant on, obviously, we never mention names, but I wouldn't say I want customers following the Angry Designer, to be honest, not on a weekly basis. So do you struggle with this?
No. Well, actually, wait a minute. Hang on. What's the truth? Yes and no. I think my content has to be inspiring for a client and useful for a designer. So I want the client to understand the nuances of how I work. It's like they're meeting me. I would like them to think that they're sitting down and having a conversation. That's what, every time I'm on a camera, I would like to feel like I'm doing this right now, like having a conversation with you. Obviously, I act different on YouTube because it's jump cuts and, I'm a bit more exaggerated. That's just what happens. It's all acting, essentially. I mean, very bad acting, I can say that. But
it's entertaining.
With entertaining. So with clients, I don't really say anything bad about them because I'm not allowed to say who they are.
Of course.
Most of the time. And they take years to say, I've done this for most of the projects anyway. And plus, I do rant about clients, but no one will hear about it. It's a private thing. Like, if there's a problem, I want them to know first. And if I started ranting about it myself on YouTube on my platform, because clients go on there, that probably would have a negative impact. So I probably am influenced by that. But at the same time, I see YouTube as a big marketing funnel. It's not like it's not just my job. It's about half of what we do, if that. But it's like a big cyclical marketing funnel. The whole thing looks like it's just me, which is the weird thing. It's hard to explain. We were talking about this the other day. Yeah. We have a big team of people that do things. So it's
for the
not
YouTube side or for the graphic side?
Everything. But it looks like it's just me still because I was a freelancer.
Yes.
It's all smoke and mirrors in a nice way. Not in a weird, trying to trick you way. It's just, when I got busier, I wanted to do more design work. I can't do videos and all the client work myself because clients would just say, here's the whole thing for you. Do the website, do the branding, do the strategy, and let's do some consultation on top of that. So it's I can't do all of that. So it's all turned into this, everyone's sort of helping and working with it. Does that make sense?
Is it the same team? 100% makes sense. Is it the same team that does both sides?
Is in YouTube. So we kind
YouTube of, and your daily design work.
So we have people who work with us on the design work. Sometimes we outsource, but we've got one employee for the design work who helps me. We do a lot of it. However, we keep the team small, not just for costs, but because I can't imagine heading up a team of more than 2 other people for design projects. It would
Challenge on
just
its
be
own.
mayhem. It would be mayhem for me because I wouldn't know what's happening. For like YouTube stuff, we've got like Matthias, we've got PJ, people who do the filming, editing, setting up. Like Matthias set up the new things back here prior to the podcast and stuff. And then we've got my wife, but also technically the boss, Naomi, who tells us all what we should be doing. So
Yeah, that's pretty normal in both
that's
life
right.
and professionally.
it's great. Personal carer.
It's great. So that's incredible because you're right. It does. You do come across as, freelancer or small shop. And that was one of the questions is like, how are you handling all this? But the team definitely, that makes a lot of sense.
The team is there. It sounds, and I've always said it feels bad because I don't want it to ever feel like egotistical. It's very, you've got to try and keep your head to the ground.
Yeah.
The team is there to make sure that they help me, like, so they can be a part of what I did before. Now, back in the day, about 5-6 years ago, I would be doing all the client work, all the emails, every video I would record and edit. That would be twice a week.
Yes.
Doing hand lettering every day on Instagram. Taxes, everything was done by myself. And that just got to a point of where it was unsustainable. Couldn't do that anymore.
Right.
I didn't have a life. So had to have people come and help. And it's been great because we've been able to not just do more. I don't think we do more. I think we just do the same amount, but the quality, I think, has just like exploded and gotten really become something of a different beast, the quality of everything. So
At what point did you bring on more members of the team to help with this?
What point? I wanted an editor because when was it? It was like a few years ago, 3-4 years ago, something like that. I wanted an editor for videos.
Yes.
Because I was like, I am done editing videos.
Yes.
I've got to like do so much stuff. So brought an editor in. Then I was like, I need a graphic designer too to come and help me with the design work. It would be nice to have someone around so we can like bounce ideas off and I can just do what I want to do basically, which is logo type design. That's
your thing.
field. I love logos and logo types and like random things that I want to do. Then, yeah, that was it. Basically, we just needed more people to do stuff.
So
like to come and help.
So as I've followed you, right now, as you mentioned, Peter McKinnon, it's amazing because I do see some of your, not recently, but there was a few years ago with a lot of the top-down, more dramatic lighting, and I was just now thinking about it, very reflective of his work. So great on that.
Yeah.
How do you keep evolving then your video? Like, is it? Everybody sees the people advertising. You have to do this if you want to be on YouTube. You have to do this on social. You need analytics. You need this. How much of that is actually true, considering that you've been doing this for 10 years?
I don't know what I'm doing on YouTube. I don't know what I'm doing. No, genuinely.
You heard it here, folks.
So Elon Musk says this really good quote, and he says, if you need encouragement to be like an entrepreneur, then don't be an entrepreneur. And he says this other one, like business is like chewing glass and staring into the abyss. It's like, it's just not nice.
Yeah.
It's just not nice. And a lot of the time, it sort of resonated with me because a lot of the time with a video, you can do so much planning, so much like all this planning. You can be like, this is the best video ever. I'm going to put it out. It's going to get millions of views like that last one did. I'm going to do another iPaid video and it'll get millions of views. And it's 10 times better, right? You know it's better.
Yes.
You put it out and it flops,
God.
right? And you're just like, what the hell happened? And there's no answers.
Yeah.
And people pretend to have answers.
Yes.
They actually pretend. I have gone to the point now of where like I don't think anyone knows what they're doing other than Brandon Shepherd. Now Brandon Shepherd is a legend.
Okay. I'm writing this down.
He is like the guy on YouTube that you will have seen his videos where he takes two things, mashes them up, or like he'll be I made famous logos 3D. And he'll get like a bajillion views on them because he's just so good at what he does, like at videos and the way that he plans them. And then like when you try and do something like that just to test, because on YouTube what we do is we look at people creating content. Let's say the Sidemen, and they do like a pick the person challenge or whatever, and then we'll go, oh, we'll do that, but do it with a design twist.
Yeah.
So, you know, maybe I did this and for design. And we're always like mashing ideas together of things that we think people would like, and it doesn't work all the time. So that's why I say I don't know what I'm doing on YouTube. I just try to post videos that are kind of useful, entertaining, that people enjoy.
Yeah.
Anything that it gives value.
Yeah, absolutely
to people,
does.
yeah.
So your videos tend to, well, not tend to, they're geared towards graphic designers, but you said earlier that they're largely a marketing tool. So how much of an impact do your videos that are targeted to graphic designers help you get work on the other side of the business?
I don't know exactly, but all my clients know that I do it.
Yes.
They do. They know that I do videos. So the way that I had this client recently, and I was like, how did you find me? And he said, well, I've watched your videos. And I said, oh, which one? And he said, all of them. And I was like, that's weird.
Yeah.
And I was like, and there's no way. Yeah. And I don't think there is a way that he's watched every single one. He's probably watched all the recent ones maybe. But I think clients who are looking for it, because I've become sort of a name now, people kind of know what I do. And like you say, with specialization and niching down, we were talking before we before we hit record about specialization and stuff. Because I do logo type design, when people think of logo, all I've done is I've made it so when clients think of a logo, they think of me. Yeah. Because they've seen a video around it. So I think it plays a large role in the fact that they've seen my work. It adds credibility to what I am, whether you agree with that or not. A lot of people would say you could be a YouTube designer and be terrible, and I would say that is 100% true. It's a big thing to watch out for as well. So, yeah, to answer your question, it has an effect, but I'm not entirely sure exactly how to articulate what effect it has on their bearing to choose me.
Once they do decide to go with you, once they've selected, you guys have agreed, is that because you are this authoritative figure online, you are this go-to person, this you know, you have celebrity status, is there additional pressure that you have to almost maintain a certain threshold, you know, in order to live up to this expectation that they may put on you? And I mean, this could very well just be me fangirling over you. I don't know, but you know, do customers?
I think customers want trust. So the way that if you notice on the videos, I always frame design work as an investment. I never frame it as a budget. Now, a lot of people complain you can see it on the graphic design Reddit. There's so many people complaining because people see graphic design as a budgeting thing. They budget for it, which means that you're trying to like save money. But with an investment that works, you're willing to put the money in. And I don't know, I guess simple answer is probably yes. A more complicated answer, it's easier because they trust you.
Right. So they won't argue with you as much.
No, they'll argue.
It's just question.
Yeah, they'll question. They don't question as much, I don't think, but obviously they have a trust in you. The number one thing that you can do as a graphic designer or as an artist where you are teaching someone or you're doing something very subjective to them. Like graphic design is very subjective for people who don't know. I believe graphic design to be 100% objective. 90% objective, 10% subjective.
Interesting.
That's why, I mean, that's the way that I believe it to be. If they can trust you first, and if they know that you have your best interest for them, which we do, like we never want to do bad work for our clients. And I'm not just saying that because we're on a podcast and people will see it. It's just no designer wants to do bad work. But we make that very clear. We make it clear that when you spend the money with us, it's not like being wasted. We will like lose money before we do bad work for you. Right. And we've done that plenty of times. It's gone over the deadline, but we don't charge them anymore. We just keep doing it until we can prove the concept works or we can prove the system works for them. So that's the way that we do it. We do it long game, not short game. We don't think of the client now. We think of the client in 2 years' time. So we want them to come back. Well, that's a good and bad thing sometimes. But we want to think of them in 5 years down the line. Is our work going to be good? And that's how we think of videos as well. Every video that we do, aside from current trending ones like, the X logo video, we want people in 10 years' time to be looking at those videos and learning from them because it's efficient.
Yeah, and it is a lot of the information that you put out there is the green tree. It's legacy. It won't outdate. Which
that's the secret.
Yeah, you're right, because then it just keeps it always active. Oh, that's smart.
Snowballing.
Yeah. Okay, so so then with this being said, with the YouTube, with all your followers, the influence, can you and again, I don't even know, we're not talking dollars and cents, but does that add or reflect into your bottom line? Like your past 10 years worth of work, is that added onto your quoting?
I think everyone should be quoting a fair amount.
Mm-hmm.
Like by fair, I mean as in like something that is fair to the client. If it's a coffee shop, we're not going to quote them like we would quote a FTSE 100. It's unethical, it's extortion, and it's not nice.
And I think that that's just the perfect spot on where to end this part one of 2 parts with the one and only Mr. Will Paterson. So there's so much really cool stuff about this episode that I liked. Number one, I mean, Will is, the biggest YouTube influencer. I mean, you can almost argue he's the biggest influencer period we've had in the space, with almost 1 million YouTube subscribers on his channel and like an over 10-year, trailblazing history here. He is definitely one of the people in this space that has been laying the groundwork for everybody else thereafter. There's a lot of good and bad I heard in this conversation. Shocking, what, YouTube isn't what we all thought it was going to be like. It doesn't, necessarily pay off the way it does. It's not as easy as people make it look. But then even like the trolls and just people just kind of, not being as thankful for the content that people like Will are putting out. So it's really disheartening in some cases like that. But it's good to see that somebody like him with his positive attitude is able to, persevere through those tough times and realize that what he's doing for the bigger community is just amazing. And lo and behold, the guy is like, I don't even think he's 30 years old yet, which is just mind-blowing in my world. Just gone. So be sure to return next week because obviously we're going to be talking a lot more about, obviously his YouTube antics, but then of course about his business in general, how it operates, what it's like operating both a YouTube studio plus a design business. Of course, there's no doubt we're going to be talking about AI because everybody's always talking about AI these days. And we're also going to talk about his quirky little town, which I think is just amazing. What's it like being a YouTube, celebrity with 1 million people living in a town of like 10,000 people? I don't know. It's kind of interesting. And of course, we're going to finish it off with our rapid fire round questions, which, kind of touch on all these other little parts about him that we all want to know. So on behalf of Will, Sean, and myself, stay creative and stay angry. Peace.